Dhaka. This is Tahmina Nupur and you are watching BSS News. For over 15 years, enforced disappearance became a weapon of fear wielded by the Awami League regime in Bangladesh. This dark chapter in the country's history was not mere a tale of political violence, rather it was a powerful symbol of the terror that gripped the nation. A single warning was enough: do not speak against the government, or you may disappear. These threats were not empty, they were often followed by the haunting silence of those who vanished without a trace. Families were silenced, voices suppressed, and too often, the worst fears were reality. Some victims returned, while others were never seen again. Even today, many families remain engulfed in uncertainty, clinging to the hope that their loved ones might one day return. Yet, the families of the victims did not remain silent. They struggled and fought for justice and human rights. Their resilience and determination played a significant role in the eventual fall of the Awami League government. The fall of the Awami League regime on 5th August 2024, following the student-led uprising, opened a new chapter. 3 days later, on 8th August, the interim government pledged to seek the return, to investigate and to deliver justice. True to that pledge, on 27th August, a commission of inquiry on enforced disappearance was formed. Today, it is investigating 1,350 cases from January 2009 to August 2024. Among them, more than 300 people remain missing. The interim government has taken important steps, signing the Instrument of Accession to the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance on 28 August 2024, drafting the Enforced Disappearance Prevention, Remedies and Protection Ordinance 2025, which provides for the most severe punishments for this crime, and proposing a fund to compensate and rehabilitate victims' families. These steps are more than policies. They are promises that the culture of silence and impunity will end. The draft ordinance defines enforced disappearance as a crime and proposes severe penalties, including the death sentence. Press Secretary to the Chief Advisor Shafiqul Alam said, adding, setting up and the use of secret detention cells have been declared a punishable offense. The Commission has assured the nation that by December, clarity will come on the complaints and cases under the investigation. Civil society, political parties, and human rights defenders have all echoed the same demand. Enforced disappearance must never again have a place in Bangladesh. Bangladesh's steps are part of a wider global effort. Across the world, enforced disappearance is recognized as a crime against humanity under international law. The United Nations Human Rights Bodies and Victims Network mark this day every year, reminding states of their obligation to ensure truth, justice, and reparation. Today, 30th August, country observes the International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances, a day dedicated to honoring victims, supporting their families, and raising global awareness about this grave human rights violation. Established by the United Nations, this day reflects the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, which came into force on 23 December 2010 after the 20th state ratification. The Convention recognizes enforced disappearance as not only a crime, but when carried out systematically, a crime against humanity. The Convention affirms that no one should ever be subjected to secret detention or disappearances under any circumstances and upholds the right of families to know the truth about their loved ones. According to the Declaration on the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances, an enforced disappearance occurs when persons are arrested, detained, or abducted against their will or otherwise deprived of their liberty by officials of different branches or levels of government or by organized groups or private individuals acting on behalf of or with the support, direct or indirect consent or acquiescence of the government. followed by a refusal to disclose the fate or whereabouts of the persons concerned, or a refusal to acknowledge the deprivation of their liberty, which places such persons outside the protection of the law. In Bangladesh, on the occasion of the International Day of the Victims of Enforced Disappearances, My Duck, Mother's Call, an organization of the families of disappeared victims, along with the various human rights groups, has organized programs calling for the return of the disappeared and justice for those responsible. A roundtable titled On the Road to Accountability, commemorating the Day for the Victims of Enforced Disappearances, held today at Hotel Six Seasons in Gulshan. The event was jointly organized by the Commission of Inquiry on Enforced Disappearances and the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. Advisor of the Ministry of Industry, Adilur Rahman, said that despite all evidence, obstacles remain and the struggle for justice continues. Adilur Rahman said that protecting detention centers and interrogation rooms will preserve history. And he expressed confidence that the joint efforts of the OHCHR mission in Dhaka and the Commission will guide justice for victims of torture, disappearance, and extrajudicial killings. Ministry of Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Advisor Asif Nuzul said that the government immediately formed the Disappearance Commission and signed agreements with the United Nations to prevent future incidents. He highlighted that 20,000 politically motivated false cases have been withdrawn. Concrete evidence in anti-terrorism and extrajudicial cases will be reviewed promptly, and 90% of the Commission's recommendations have been retained for sincere implementation. On this day of remembrance, political parties across Bangladesh reflected on the past and reaffirmed their commitments for the future. BNP acting chairman Tariq Rahman said his party, if elected, would enact laws in line with international conventions to prevent enforced disappearances and ensure justice. He termed it a heinous crime against humanity, welcomed the interim government's draft ordinance, and called for unity to hold perpetrators accountable. Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami Secretary General Professor Mia Gholam Parwar urged the interim government to trace the missing, punish those responsible, and extend sympathy to the victims' family. Some victims' families still ask why they must go from door to door, year after year, just to learn whether their loved ones are alive or dead. Their grief is compounded by legal and financial struggles, the inability to transfer property, access bank accounts, or simply rebuild their lives. Their demand is not revenge. It is the truth, it is the justice, and it is the assurance that no other family should endure what they have suffered. That's all for today. For more information, visit bssnews.net. Thanks for watching.